Hey everybody, I'm Charting Man Dan with the Chart Guys. We're going to check in on the cannabis sector in this video. We've got the FOMC reaction. Powell is speaking right now, so there's a lot to be keeping an eye on. We're going to talk a little bit about fundamentals, mostly the charts. Going to take some questions and answers. I'm going to give the answers. So if you got any questions, feel free to put them in the YouTube chat. And it can be chart requests or general questions, things like that. And as always, likes and shares and comments all appreciated. The more we get, the more content we keep putting out. So checking in, first things first, let's talk a little bit about the broader market right now. So we got the reaction to the FOMC and Powell, and we have a bullish reaction at the moment. And we've got Powell speaking. You can see we're up, the NASDAQ hitting the high of the day, Russell 2000 hitting the high of the day. So a bit of a bullish reaction at the moment. And we'll see if that sticks for the rest of the day. We got about an hour and 13 minutes left in the trading day, and things can certainly shift quickly, but at the moment, it is a bullish reaction. So one thing I want to talk about fundamentally first before we dive into the charts is the DEA rescheduling. So this is something that we're looking towards, and shout out to Bird in our chat room for posting this because it's very concise information. I'm going to post this link in the comments right now for you all to take a look at this and read it further later. But this is a good summary of what could take place in terms of rescheduling and what we're looking for. Because a lot of people think it's just going to be the DEA coming out and saying, we're going to Schedule 3, or nope, we're staying Schedule 1. And that's possible. That may happen. But this is also a timeline where it's possible that the DEA says, hey, we're thinking about going to Schedule 3. Let's open it up for comments. And so then there's a comment period, and then we have an administrative hearing, and then we have no review of the administrative hearing and the comments, and then we get a final rule, and then we get a review period and all that. So just keep in mind that, as we know, things in politics take place at a snail's pace, and so just something to be aware of, that it's possible one route, and this is, there's two ways this plays out. If the DEA comes out, let's just say tomorrow, and says, hey, we're going Schedule 3. We rip really hard, we go aggressive with market buys, and we shoot up. If it plays out like this, it's going to be more like the price action we've seen over the last 5 weeks, where it's just slow and steady uptrends, which builds support along the way. And those are two very different things in terms of how I would trade it. If you're building support and you're slow and steady and you're heading up, then I'm much more likely to keep position versus if you just shoot straight up 50% in 4 days, not establishing any support on the way up. So just be aware that there's a few different ways this could play out, and worth reading this more in depth to have a outlook as to what could possibly take shape when the DEA starts to make moves. All right, so MSOS on the daily time frame. So again, I'm going to be talking about things from a bull perspective and a bear perspective. Because I always try and do that. I say putting on my bear glasses to try and not be biased. Obviously, we want to be biased in the direction of the trend, but we don't want to miss things. And so, if you've been following me on Twitter, that I've been talking a good bit the last week about, hey, we need to be paying attention to the possibility of a rising wedge here. The bulls are still in complete control. There are no major red flags, but this is a possible rising wedge. If this is a rising wedge, it's a bearish pattern, which would mean weekly consolidation. And, I have to laugh at a comment on my last video where someone says, I'm spreading FUD because I have an opinion that the DEA coming out with a decision in the summer would be better for riding a headline into the election. And because I'm talking about consolidation, I'm spreading FUD. Meanwhile, if you're not prepared for weekly consolidation, you should be, because it's going to happen eventually. Bitcoin just ran straight up for months, and then it pulled back 30%, 25%, into inevitable weekly consolidation. And then we've had a great bounce, 20% pullback into a solid bounce. It has to happen. It's part of trends. Do not fear weekly consolidation. As I've said, I will be buying next weekly consolidation. In fact, if you could give me what's the best case scenario from a technical perspective, it would be fail the initial test of this HHS high, give me a weekly bull flag, and then break out in a cup and handle. That would just be great for increasing position size and gaining some confidence. So keeping an eye out on the daily rising wedge. How will we know if it's taking shape? It's taking shape just in the sense that bull break into consolidation, bull break into consolidation. But if it's going to confirm, we need to break the daily higher low of 883. That would lose the daily uptrend and have us entering weekly consolidation if 883 were to break. The simple statement is, if 883 is support, the bulls don't have anything to worry about. They're in complete control because we're just setting higher lows every day. And we're still seeing, let me see, I don't want to overlap thoughts here. I want to stay nice and concise and clear. So bulls in control, daily uptrend, no red flags at this point. We tested 988. Yesterday we got pretty darn close, 969. So we got within, 2% and pulled back. It's not a hard rejection. It's low volume. Again, bears want to see consolidation days have lower than average volume and bullish days have higher than average volume. And we have been seeing that. So that's a good sign. But I'm just being a bit cautious up here because I'm not going to sit through with my full position exposed. I'm not going to sit through a 10% drawdown. I'm going to offset that. And in this moment, I have another short position. So as I mentioned, my style of trading is when we break the low of last Friday on Monday, I short, I take partial profit into oversold conditions. I stop out when the bulls see continuation because that tells me, nope, I'm wrong. I don't need protection. The bulls still got it. And I did the same thing today. When we broke the low of today this morning, I grabbed another short. It was at about 936 I got filled. Grabbed another short, take a little bit of profit, stick a stop above the high of the day. And again, it's just my protection positions. I'm still leaning long. My short doesn't cover my entire long position. I'm just trying to offset in case this does play out as a daily rising wedge. I will offset a significant amount. And I did the same thing on this HHS run where my my cannabis account looked like this as opposed to this. And it's because I protected on the drawdown. So again, that's my style. I know a lot of you are not active traders, and that's fine. And so you shouldn't be trying to do what I'm doing as a full-time trader, at least not in your early experience years. But again, just giving information and being transparent about what I am doing. So we did see bulls buy the short-term oversold conditions. As we know, there's three characteristics of a bull market. Backburners, meaning short-term oversold conditions marking longer-term higher lows. Most of you I know have watched the backburner video at this point. If not, you Google Chart Guy's backburner, you watch that video. If I had to suggest any video for someone who's familiar with trading, that would be it. As far as, not the basics of trading because you already have that down. So backburners, rotation. We'll talk about that in a bit when we talk about the Canadian names. Rotation within the sector and riding EMA 12. So riding EMA 12 support on the way up on the daily and the weekly time frame. And again, just another example, uranium has been extremely strong. Check out URNJ, the ETF, weekly time frame. Look at this EMA 12. The bulls do not have anything to worry about if weekly EMA 12 is holding. It's just a nice visual guide in terms of who's in control. EMA 12 support, all right, bulls in control. So those are the three characteristics of a bull market. Backburners. So they've been working. Bulls have been buying oversold conditions. And yesterday I played this backburner bounce where I longed at 929. I sell partial, I think it was 938. I stick my stop under the low. And then I let the bounce play out. Today, same thing. 5-minute oversold marks the low of the day. We almost rolled over. We double bottomed, but it is holding. Now, we did drop and break the low of the last 5-minute oversold bounce. That, to me, tells me things are shifting a little bit. It's not as ideal. It's not your top confidence trade because it's not first 5-minute oversold conditions after a breakout. So that, to me, meant I'm not playing this bounce and longing MSOS this morning. Granted, it still worked out. It's not a big bounce, but it still helped mark the low of the day, and the bulls did still buy that dip. But it's just an example of, could it work? Yes, but it's not as high conviction as it was yesterday. So I sit it out. But next, we're going to be looking, if this rising wedge does start to play out, I'm going to be buying hourly oversold conditions the next time we see them. We haven't gotten close anytime recently. So I'll definitely be buying hourly oversold next time we see it. but we're not seeing it yet. And the simple statement is, the MSO, the ETF, MSOS, is not going to pull back in any meaningful way if TCNNF is a daily stair-step pattern. What's a daily stair-step pattern? Google chart guys, stair-step. There's a whole video about it. But it's a higher low every single day. And if we don't break that pattern, we're not going to drop. Simple. It's very common sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days in a row now with a higher low every single day. And the true lead bulls are buying these 5-minute back burners. First 5-minute oversold back here on Monday. First 5-minute oversold into a rip. No red flags. Higher low every single day. So TrueLeave right now is a bit of a weather vane for the sector, knowing it's been leading. We know TrueLeave has been leading the last 2 weeks to the upside because of that DeSantis headline in terms of increasing probabilities that we're going to get a recreational vote on cannabis in Florida in November. And just to be aware, just some quick stats. Missouri, first year of recreational sales, 1.2 billion in revenue. We've got Florida's population is 350% more, and its tourism population in 2022 was like 2,200% more than Missouri's home population. So that's why everybody's excited about Florida. It's such a massive market in terms of what would open up. And we know TrueLeave has a stronghold in terms of their dominance of weekly flower sales at the moment, which is why TrueLeave is leading the way up most recently. And again, same thing, bulls in complete control, nothing to worry about. Daily consolidation is going to happen. We're going to pull back 5 to 10% from the high whenever we top out. And I'm looking to buy that dip in first hourly oversold conditions and look for a daily higher low to be most likely whenever we top out. And we know that the bulls, if they're going to stay their strongest, will look to hold daily EMA 12 on that daily consolidation. But no sign of it just yet. MSOS right now is trying to creep back up towards that high of the day. And again, just holding on just fine at the moment. No red flags as long as the little daily higher lows keep forming. If, let's just say we close right here, right now, and then tomorrow we break 950, the high of today, 951, my new benchmark level moves up from 883. Now the most important short-term support for me is 913. Why do these levels matter? It's the level where the bulls make a stand and say, nah, we're not going down anymore. Bears control the morning. They get to a certain point, and bulls say, nope, that's as far as you're getting. Just imagine tug of war. That's where the bulls tug back. And so that then becomes a key level for me. All right, let's look at some individual names here. So TrueLeave, all bulls. Green Thumb, also, well, it's underperforming again. GTBIF divided by MSOS. Ever since TrueLeave took the stage, we've been weakening in Green Thumb. It's got to happen. I mean, Green Thumb enjoyed the top throne in the sector for years. And it's shifting. It's not, I'm not saying it's over for Green Thumb. I'm saying that since the spotlight went to TrueLeave, we are seeing Green Thumb lose the spotlight. It makes perfect sense. So we yesterday, Green Thumb was the weakest it's been compared to MSOS in 3 months. That's a little bit of a significant shift. As far as the small caps, well, let's go back to Green Thumb. So Green Thumb key level for me is 1257 and then 1196. But you can see its price isn't really doing anything the last 2 weeks, while TrueLeave is going straight up the last 2 weeks. Again, it makes logical sense. Smaller cap names, AYRWF. Again, I talked recently about how there's warrants and some fundamentals going on. I'm not paying attention personally to that micro narrative, but some of you are. Nothing wrong with it. Daily, most important support, 299, and little double top at 360. But again, same thing. Just keep forming these little daily higher lows. Nothing to worry about. And what I'm watching is AYRWF divided by MSOS. In my last video, I talked about how Just like Truly, it was at a key level that it broke above. We're battling this level of relative strength where we're right at the highs in the sense that this is the strongest that it's been compared to MSOS in 16 months almost, 14 months, 15 months, something like that. So it's trying to break through in terms of standing out and saying, hey, look at me. I've got relative strength. Keep an eye on me. Don't forget about little old me. I personally have a rule with my trading where I'm only interested in things that trade AYRWF. I'm only interested in things that trade a minimum of $5 million a day. And I've had to bend those rules a little bit for the cannabis sector because volume is so low. But a name like this is just not going to cut it for me. To be trading $1 million average a day, it's just not enough liquidity. So I know it is for some of you, and that's fine. I just have different rules. Broader market is pulling back a good bit the last 20 minutes, and MSOS is ignoring that at the moment, which is a good sign. So here's SPY, last 20 minutes giving back the bull reaction to Powell, and MSOS is not being dragged down with it. So that's a little bit of relative strength the last 15, 20 minutes, which is a good sign trying to hold on here. Keeping in mind, anything under 954 is just an hourly. Well, I'm losing a little bit of clarity on the hourly. I'm going to stick with the daily chart for MSOS. That's certainly where the clarity is for me at the moment. If the broader market drops to a new low of the day from here, then I do expect MSOS is going to head back down towards its low because that will be a clear shift. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'll check back in on that in just a moment. So TLRY, all bears. As I've been saying, if we do not break the lower high pattern, there's nothing for a bull to do here. And we're just fading back down. 184 is the next support. Tilray compared to MSOS is the weakest it's ever been in its history. And I know a lot of fundamental bulls are celebrating that. And I understand why. One thing I would suggest trying, you want to pick your fundamental name and you want it to do the best and you cheerlead it and, you talk some smack about the other companies that you don't think are as up to snuff compared to your company or companies. I get it. But myself as a trader, I want everything in the sector to do well. Why? Because that's when you have real euphoria. When people have confidence to throw money at anything in the sector with confidence it'll go up, that's when you get hype euphoria cycles. And that's when you get profit going from this name to the laggards, and then the laggards run, and it's just a game of musical chairs of capital moving around within the sector to tier 1s, to tier 3s, to Canadian names, to, pick and shovel names. And so, I look around at Tilray and CGC, they're very weak. SNDL, very weak. Down at the lows, GRWG, very weak, nothing going on. And I want to see these names performing, even though I don't own any of them. I won't make any money. Well, I'll trade some of them, but I won't make any money if these names go up, and I want them to perform. And a lot of people struggle with that. I'm not in that name. No, I want it to go down. I want my name to go up. All I'm saying is rising tides raise all ships. You should be rooting for everything in the sector. I understand you got your favorite plays. You think other plays are bad plays. That's fine. But just know that you'll make more money if everything in the sector is performing. Stock market's hitting fresh lows right now in response to Powell. MSOS still holding on pretty well, but it is giving back a bit of that move up. Metals dropping, miners dropping. Got some hedges at work in the market right now. And again, same thing, this morning I got some metals positions. I hedged them this morning. I've got a Tesla bounce attempt. I hedged it a bit with a meta short. I've got my MSO long. I hedge it a little bit. Just protecting, especially on very volatile days. All right. So again, just what I talked about with rising tides raises all ships, that's characteristic number 2 of a bull market is rotation. So yeah, it's great when the MSOs lead the way up, but we want to see everything performing well in terms of getting more attention, getting more eyes, getting more headlines, getting Reddit, getting CNBC. Honorable mention, CMPS, just a beast. This weekly inverse head and shoulders bull flag, just perfection. getting above to the highest levels we've seen in over a year, just taking out all this resistance. But I'm keeping an eye out for a temporary top. It's an hourly head and shoulders pattern, which is a bearish reversal pattern. I'm going to look at the questions in just a moment. So this is a potential head and shoulders pattern. If I were not live streaming right now, I would have grabbed a short. And if we break 1112, we confirm the head and shoulders into daily consolidation. We zoom out, we look for a daily higher low. We watch daily EMA 12. We look for hourly oversold conditions because the 5-minute back burners have been working here as well. It's not just cannabis. Yesterday, 5% bounce, 6% bounce. Today, only a 2% bounce. So again, it's not the same setup, not as much conviction. But let's see if that hourly head and shoulders plays out. We're very due for consolidation. We just went straight up 50% in the span of 8 days. There's some potential catalysts on the horizon for psychedelic names in February, which is definitely helping these names with some of this strength. But again, daily consolidation inevitable and shaping up right now. MSOS still hanging on well, all things considered. All right, I'm now reading the chat room. Thanks for the likes and the comments and stuff. Can MSOS return to all-time highs? Yes, eventually. What are the catalysts that I'm looking for that people aren't really talking about right now? Mergers and acquisitions. Anybody that was around trading Canopy, do you remember when Constellation announced, let's go look at it. When Constellation announced that they were going to invest billions, an alcohol company investing billions into a cannabis company. I had a friend who made $1 million with some options on that announcement. Where was it? This one back here? I might be getting my timeline wrong, but pretty sure it was this one right here where we just went, almost 100% move in a couple of weeks, 70% move in response to that. And it ignited the entire sector because people then said, wait a second, we're going to start getting mergers and acquisitions. That means these names that don't have a partner yet could get a capital influx and a partnership deal. So that will be a major catalyst in this sector if and when that starts happening. Bulls are pleased with how MSOS is trading right now compared to the broader market. Relative strength still prominent. So yes, MSOS can head back to all-time highs, but it might take a while. I mean, I'm not holding my breath for it, but with the right kind of catalyst, it's a long ways off. There's a lot of bag holders. When you're doing this with no bag holders, no resistance, it's very different than doing it and working through all this supply. So it's a tougher road ahead, but it's certainly a possibility. I already talked about AYRWF. I'm not the guy to talk about the warrants. There are other people better versed in the fundamentals than me. CBSTF just not performing. So bulls do not prove a thing if 545 is resistance. Key support, 45 cents. There's a battle at that level. If it breaks, look at it, previous resistance. Look at all this action at 45. Now holding as support. That's a good sign. Just got to keep holding it. That is the line in the sand in the short term. Expecting volatility here soon because we're either going to break these lower highs or we're going to break that support. I'd say within the next 4 days probably. MSOS approaching the high of the day. I may stop out. My head short. With volatile stocks like cannabis, any suggestion on how to swing trade them? I know for me, again, it's hedging to be able to swing trade larger position sizes, but that requires active management and it requires a skill set that takes years to develop. If you don't have that, you just got to use less capital. You know, if you're risking it for the biscuit and you're going aggressive, then you're going to have sleepless nights. You're going to see big drawdowns, and ideally you then see the big rewards. And you know, back when my trading account was $6,000 and I was trading in 2012 the cannabis run in penny stocks for Washington and Colorado legalization, I was all in. You know, I'm all in my account, and let's see how this goes. There were definitely, you know, your account pulls back 10% when you're doing that. And you just have to accept riding that wave. You always want those stop loss levels, though, where, okay, something's happening where I was not anticipating. This is not going according to plan. Do I trade any of the MSOs? Yes, I do. I do the ETF the vast majority of the time for its liquidity, but I do trade the individual names every now and again. And I did trade TCNNF. You know, when they had that Florida headline, I made a Twitter post. You know, the volume we're seeing in response to that Twitter headline is a joke. And so I was trading a bit of True Leave on this run up. I am out of my position at this point, waiting for daily consolidation. But yeah, it's a core swing position at MSOS, and then my trading is MSOS as well as individual names if something is glaringly standing out like True Leave was and is. TLRY or CGC? Neither. Make the bulls earn your money. What is this stock doing that is telling you that it deserves your capital? I see it going down. I see it doing nothing but going down since earnings for the last 3 weeks. CGC is closer to seeing a bull break than Tilray in this moment. So if you put a gun to my head, I'm taking CGC. But just make bulls prove it. Give me a reason to go long on the chart. Show me that other people are going long, that the price is going up, that we have an uptrend. Then I'm interested going long. MSOS, high of the day, great relative strength, follow through. Out the hedge. Bulls in control still. Big volume spike. Let's see if I'm missing any headlines. Going to our chat room. That is strength. Next resistance, 969. Coming into play. Truly back up testing 10 psychological, approaching 10 psychological, not quite there. That's a best case scenario reaction to the FOMC for the sector right now. So that's good. Reading comments. I do always have extended hours on for RSI. It's just the way that I've always done it. GRWG. So I have been keeping an eye on GRWG. But again, it is not earning my capital. What has it done to deserve my capital? Nothing. Support is 234 and 226. We confirmed a daily uptrend with zero follow-through. That's not a good sign. Weekly downtrend still intact. Lower high, lower high. Got to break those lower highs. So this is technically an equilibrium. Low, high, higher, low, lower, high, higher low and potentially shaping up a quick lower high at 257. A break of 226 would be a bear break of this pattern that's been trading sideways the last couple months. Is it okay to get into MSOS at this price if you're long? Always ask yourself, are you looking to be aggressive or conservative? An aggressive bull buys daily consolidation. A conservative bull is waiting for weekly consolidation. You also don't have to, newer people to markets think they got to be all in or all out. It's not the way to do it. You can scale in. You can say, all right, I don't want to chase, but I want a piece. I'm going to grab 20% of my position. And then if we drop further, I've got more cash to put to use to buy the dip and buy consolidation. Maybe it's half your capital if you want to be more aggressive. There's a spectrum of aggressive and conservative, and you need to figure out where you fall on that. Are you 22 with no debt, single? That's when I was my most aggressive. Are you 54, trying to retire, got kids and a mortgage? Those are two completely different people in terms of what they're trying to do financially. Awesome, Chris. Glad you can grow in Ohio. Lost my spot. Bear with me here. POTX liquidating. 30 million is not a lot, but it definitely, it's something. But, TLRY, average daily volume is 30 million. So not a huge portfolio that they're liquidating, but definitely a factor. We can definitely break 988 without news. Bears are going to make a stand there. They're going to do their best to defend it, but with how we've been trading the last few weeks, we can definitely break it without news. Will I market buy a Canadian LP on Schedule 3 announcement? Probably. I'll market buy MSOS. I'll market buy individual US name, and I will market buy because the reason that these Canadian stocks rip so fast and hard when we get a catalyst like the HHS announcement is because of how weak they are. How does that make sense? They're so weak that there's so many shorts attracted to them that when there's that spike in news, it's a short squeeze. And it's the short float in CGC and TLRY, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm assuming it's way more than the US side because of how weak they are. So it's almost like a double-edged sword where they're weak and people short them because they're weak, but when that spark happens, they then rip. Can you use crypto to join the chart guys? Yeah, but you got to email info@chartguys.com and we got to set that up. Ideal stop in top 5 tier 1s. Are you going to hold through weekly consolidation or not? I'm expecting a weekly higher low. So, I look at GTBIF. If we lose the daily uptrend, we just zoom out and we look for a weekly higher low, watching weekly EMA 12. So are you going to, exit on loss of the daily uptrend and then look to rebuy a week later for the weekly higher low? How protective of your capital do you want to be? Do you want to exit partial positions? You could sell a third of your holdings and then look to reload a third in weekly consolidation. There's so many different ways that you can play this game. And again, it all depends on how much experience you have in markets, how much capital you have in play. Do you already have cash on the sideline to buy a dip? Do you want to free up some cash to buy some dips? But for now, the daily higher low is the most important pattern They were watching on all individual names, and they're all still holding them at this point. The US names, that is. Graham. Why are there two? Oh, warrant. This chart is just so gross to me as a trader. Just because it's so low volume, so illiquid. About 25 cents is support and 41 to 43 cents is resistance. But it's just not liquid. People are not interested in this name. On Monday, we traded $40,000 or something like that. What's up, RCW? Good to see you as well. Wall Street not testing people for cannabis. So yeah, that helps the relative strength that we were seeing. That's going to be a trend. You're going to see that. You know, the NBA, they already did it, I'm pretty sure. You're going to see, I think you're going to see leagues one by one ditch that. I'm going to stop testing myself for cannabis. CGC Bulls, to prove something to us. First off, I want to close above $5 because we broke resistance by a few pennies, but close above $5 would be all right. I'm paying attention. And then we just zoom out and we know we're going to be looking for a weekly lower high under 835, but there's a lot of space where that could potentially form. OGI. Well, for a Canadian name, what's Kron looking like? OGI, not bad. I mean, that's the psychology of a cup and handle. I caught myself. I didn't want to call it a cup and handle. A cup and handle is a continuation pattern. It is best at the top of an uptrend to lead to continuation. The whole point is you don't have any resistance after both sides of the cup, so you run wild. The psychology is here for a cup and handle, where you fail resistance and then you bull flag, but it's not the ideal positioning in the trend. So the simple statement is, if we hold the back test of these EMAs, I mean, what does this look like? CMPS. Look at the comparison here. Same thing, not a cup and handle, but the psychology of the pattern. Fail resistance, back test these EMAs as they're crossing bullish for the first time in over a year, and go. OGI, fail resistance, backtest the EMAs as they're crossing bull. I'm more interested in OGI now. Earnings, are they today after hours? That's going to change things, obviously. TradingView gets cannabis earnings wrong at times, but could be today. If you can hold these EMAs on the back test and then get over $2, that's a longer term shift taking place. It's pretty similar to CMPS there. We are not looking at BABA and SOFI and any of these other names. The LPs will act as laggards eventually. I don't need to try and nail the bottom. I can trade the strong things bullish that are green most days on this uptrend versus the Canadian names that are red most days. And then when I see signs of volume and resistance breaks telling me that big money play, here's my phrase for the market. I'm not here to beat the market. I'm here to ride the coattails of the whales and pick up my piece of the pie. So when I see signs that the whales are positioning, I'm going to jump in. It's not going to be at the bottom. I'm not going to nail the bottom. I'm going to look for signs that there's volume and price action and big players taking interest, and then I follow along and get my piece of the pie, which is their crumbs. So until I see that happening, it's opportunity cost of my capital sitting in names that are going down when there's names going up. It's just not ready yet. And again, I'm going to be watching the computer every day. So I know that when I see signs of it, I'll be able to act quickly. Not all of you do that. And again, I understand that. But in terms of me and how I'm doing it, give me signs. Tell me why I should be putting my capital in those names. Show me that other people with large capital are doing the same thing. TLRY will run. It'll run. But long term, obviously, we're not going anywhere near where we came from. $300. I've smoked cannabis. Will I smoke cannabis after celebrating my gains from Schedule 3? I've been smoking cannabis very actively for the last 16 years. I would not be a full-time trader without it. I would not be able to pump out as much content. The chart guys would not have as much success if that was not my wind down. Certainly putting the lazy stoner generalization to rest in terms of my life. How do you know big players are taking interest? Volume. Volume. You cannot buy sizable positions without volume showing up. HITI, I really don't like the volume on this name for me personally. You're on the NASDAQ and you can't trade $500,000 a day. Come on. But we got support, 173. So 173, key short-term support, 2 psychological resistance, and then of course the HHS reaction, 230. And the big question for the names that have not broken their HHS high yet is, are we going to fail initially and tighten up a bit? And that's the question for MSOS. After today, probabilities are increasing a bit that we can break 988, but it's still a battle right now. Again, as I said in a recent live stream, we're either going to lose the daily uptrend or break 988 sometime very soon. And only one of those two things can happen first. And one of those things is going to happen within the next probably 2 days. Got the winter sun smashing me in the face now, and I can't read my screen. Appreciate you, Kay. All right. Are patterns such as the hourly head and shoulders usually stronger than something like... So there's confluence of signals. I'm paying attention to an MSOS daily rising wedge. In crypto, daily rising wedges in bull markets break bull all the time. And I'm very open to MSOS breaking bull. But the reason I'm paying attention to it is because there's a resistance level that you can see from space, 988 right now. And so bearish patterns have higher conviction when a longer term lower high is the most likely scenario, or when there's a very key resistance level. So if we were in blue sky breakout right now, I wouldn't be caring about this rising wedge at all. It's because we are just under the resistance level that I care about it and care about paying attention to it. Nobody is removing any comments. CXXIF. Again, another one where the volume's not there for me, but all about 41. We already broke the HHS high. That's a good sign. After 41, next major level, 45. Again, it's just that basing sideways pattern that's trying to tilt the scales and flip bullish with demand outweighing supply. Looks like MSOS pulling back a little bit here. So you can categorize two groups. Who's broken the HHS high, who has not. That's an easy way to distinguish some individual names. Will I retire after making a killing? I mean, I'm retired. Canadian cannabis. I do this for fun. No. What's coming in February for the psychedelic sector? Check out Vantage. I don't want to give the wrong name. Vantage Psychedelics. Psychedelic Vantage on Twitter. They're much more in tune with the fundamentals than I am, but there is essentially, I think it's the FDA is going to say whether they're going to accept the proposal for MDMA to be, administered as medicine. And then it still has to be, I think they have to say that they're going to accept it, and then they have to decide on it. So again, everything in this process is just step, 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 step. It's a slow moving pace. It's the reason I've been in cannabis stocks for 13 years. When I was trading cannabis stocks, I can't wait till we have uplisted stocks in this sector. I'm going to be able to do this for the rest of my life when we have uplisted stocks, legitimate companies. And here we are, 8 years after I had that thought, and still dragging our feet. We've made progress, for sure, but still, slow road ahead. I do not offer one-on-one sessions, but there are members of the Chart Guys team who have been trading with me and under me for 8 years, 7 years, who do one-on-one sessions for Chart Guys members, but not me these days. All right. Where is my ACB beanie? Good question. It was a really good beanie. They made a good hat. I went to a Chart Guys Canada meetup and was gifted by Mr. F an ACB beanie and a lighter, Zippo. It was a really good hat. I wore it a lot because it was really comfortable. But it is gone now. Don't know where. All right, I appreciate you all tuning in. Pretty solid numbers. Competing with the crypto streams here. Get those likes up. We always get 100 plus likes on the crypto streams. Again, the more engagement, interaction, views, likes, shares, the more of these we'll do. Bear flag in the broader markets, testing the low of the day. MSOS still relative strength. It's going to get interesting to end this week. The next 2 days, again, we're going to break 988 or we're going to lose the daily uptrend. Do not panic for weekly consolidation. It's inevitable. It's going to happen, and it's what's going to allow us to play hourly oversold bounces and make more money. Do good things. See you soon.